Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Today's episode is brought to you by TechBlog Builder, the blog writing service for IT businesses. We craft content that converts website visitors into customers with 100% unique, SEO-ready, professionally written blog posts delivered on a consistent schedule. Learn more at techblogbuilder.com. It's also brought to you by TechSite Builder. TechSite Builder is a hosted website builder that allows you to quickly and easily get a clean, professional, and effective website up and running for your IT business. Save time and frustration with TechSite Builder. Learn more at techsitebuilder.com. On today's show, we have Jurgen Strauss on to talk about how to create your ideal client profile. Why is it important? How detailed should you get? And once you have it, what the heck do you do with it? Also, I'll be introducing my new service, TechBlog Builder, and talking a little bit more about what that is. All that and so much more coming up right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Computer Business Marketing Show. If you own or work in an IT services business, this is the place to be to get more clients, keep them happy, and grow your revenue. You can watch, download, and or subscribe to all show episodes at computerbusinessmarketing.com. Also, don't forget, we do this live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Just jump on over to Facebook. Be sure to like the TechSite Builder Facebook page, and then click the following tab and select See First. It's a lot of steps, but it's worth it because once you do that, every time we go live, it'll jump to the top of your Facebook feed, and that way you won't miss it. We love the guys and gals who join us here live every week. They add a lot to the show. They ask questions. They interact with us. We're able to answer those questions live. So, while you're scrolling through baby pictures and cat videos, why not make it a habit to join us here live for the Computer Business Marketing Show. All right, so today we have a cool topic. This one is one of those topics that I always love digging into because it's so important and it's kind of fun. It's like a fun exercise that you can do, and when you're finished with it, it's going to make a huge difference in your marketing and your brand, and it's going to make everything so much easier. And I'm talking about your ideal client profile, or some people call it an avatar, or some people call it a persona, or whatever. It's how you determine who your ideal client is, what you need to figure out about that client, how you figure that out, why it's important, and then how to execute on that and use it throughout your marketing efforts. And today we have Jurgen Strauss on, who is going to help us on that journey and help us figure out how to determine that. So welcome, Jurgen. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege to be here.
Yeah, and I'm honored to have you on. We roll in the same online circles, and you're definitely someone who contributes a lot of value to whatever community you're a part of. And I think that's why I have you on. And I think you're going to do the same here, so I'm looking forward to it. Before we dig into the interview, though, just as usual, got some housekeeping to take care of, some announcements to make. First of all, just want to remind you guys about the Computer Business Marketing newsletter. That is your weekly dose of computer business marketing tips and tricks. So if you are struggling to get new clients, or if you want to get a different marketing angle, or maybe you're just writing a blog post and you're struggling on the topic, keep an eye out for the Computer Business Marketing newsletter. Every week we'll give you the latest podcast episode, the latest any posts or videos that I've made, and also a curated list of some of the best posts that are out there in the blogosphere about marketing. So, posts on SEO, posts on content marketing, posts on in-person networking, all different types of marketing tactics. We curate down a list of the best for you that'll help you with your IT services business. We also talk about some of the popular posts from the Facebook group. And then we give you, every week we have a tip of the week, just a nice, quick, digestible, actionable tip that you can take away every week and get motivated to be better at marketing. Because a past guest of ours, I forgot who it was, shoot, but he said that really everybody who owns a computer business should be a marketer first, and then a technician or a computer repair person or whatever second, because without getting the people into your business, without getting the message out there about your business, you're not going to be able to do the other work that you love, which is
That's right. Yeah.
computers and all the techie stuff. And Jurgen would agree with that.
Every business is in the business of marketing.
Yes, whether you like it or not. So,
That's right. Yeah.
so here we try to help you like it a little bit and make it a little bit less mysterious. And that's what the newsletter does. So head on over to computerbusinessmarketing.com. Right at the top of the page, there is a form you can fill out to get on the newsletter. No spam, just a nice weekly digest of tips and tricks. All right, moving on to our sponsor. This is actually a new sponsor, and more than a sponsor, it's a new service that I created. So this is a new service I'm putting out to the world. It's my baby. This is the announcement of it. This is the first I'm talking about it on the podcast. I'm super excited about it. It's called TechBlog Builder, and this is a service where you can go to get basically blog posts written for your computer business blog. That's something that I've actually been doing on TechSite Builder, the other business that I run, which is where the website platform for IT services businesses. And through that platform, we've been writing blog posts for computer business owners. So we have an awesome process. I have some awesome content writers. We have a very efficient process. So we're able to do it affordably. We're able to get results from it. And I figured since we have that available and it's a need that people have, why not make it available to the world for people who aren't on the TechSite Builder platform? So that's what I've done with TechBlog Builder. It's basically what we'll do is you sign up for a monthly subscription of either 2, 4, or 8 blog posts, and our writers will get to know your business, the services you provide, the kind of the mood that your business is. Is it a fun-loving type of business, or is it a serious, corporate business? Who are your clients? Who are your ideal clients? We get to know your business, and then we will write posts about the topics you want us to write about. So we're not going to pretend like we know what your clients are going to want blog posts about. You tell us. You say, hey, I want a blog post about this new service I'm offering. Or, hey, I want a blog post about cryptocurrency because my customers keep asking about it. Or I want a blog post about, the latest snafu that Facebook had, or some privacy issues. Or, I want a top 10 list of the top 10 reasons to use our business, or the top 5 ways you can keep your computer secure. Whatever ideas you have, let us know. If you don't have any ideas, let us know. We'll come up with some ideas for you. It's a partnership, right? We're going to partner with you. We're going to be your content creator. It's going to be like you have a writer in your back pocket that's writing consistent blog posts. And we talk a lot about on this show about consistency with content, how it's important to keep the content coming out on a consistent basis. And then that way you keep your customers, you keep top of mind with your existing customers, and you also establish yourself as an authority to existing people out there who can see the services that you're offering, see the helpfulness that you're putting out in the world, and then when they're ready to get their computer fixed, they don't even have to think about it. They know, hey, that computer guy that's been posting all those helpful blog posts on social media, that's the person I'm going with, because they know what they're talking about. So TechBlog Builder is there to help you stay consistent with your blog post writing. Head on over to techblogbuilder.com and check it out. We actually have a cool diagram on there that breaks down the anatomy of a TechBlog Builder post. So we say exactly what we do, the captivating headline, a relevant image, the way we link to different pages on your site, the different formatting we use. All of that stuff is part of our formula to not only make it an engaging post for your potential visitors or customers, but also to make it SEO friendly. So it's going to really work for you in the search engines. It's going to help boost your website in the search engines, because Google loves consistent content. They love content that's relevant and that's talking about the topics that matter most to your customers. So it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You make Google happy, you make your clients happy, And then, of course, that makes you happy as the business owner. So check that out. We've got some introductory pricing going. So right now the prices are pretty low. We're not going to be able to keep it that low for too long. So maybe a month or two down the line, once we get enough people onboarded, we'll be raising the prices. So definitely jump on that soon. But just to learn more, head on over to techblogbuilder.com. It's a new service. I'm super excited about it. And let me know what you think. All righty.
That's an awesome product. Sounds absolutely fabulous. And, the one thing about, it is so important to post content regularly that's relevant to your target audience. And most businesses don't have the time to do that, certainly on a consistent basis. So that's a really wonderful service.
Yeah, and it's something that people will approach me about. Business owners will approach me saying, hey, I just don't have time to blog, or do you have advice on where I can find a good writer or something like that? So I figured we had a good process already. Why not just make that available to the people who need it? And hopefully it'll help folks who want it. So cool. So that's that. Now we get to the good stuff, right? We get to the interview here with Jurgen Strauss, and he is the chief innovator at InnovaBiz. And InnovaBiz is a digital marketing company, and they specialize in delivering exceptional results for business coaches. So I love you practice what you preach, right? We're going to be talking today about finding your ideal client, and right there you found your ideal client. It's business coaches. You know who you're targeting and who you serve best, and I think that's something super important for everybody to kind of hone in on. So first of all, welcome for being here.
Thank you. Thanks again. Yeah.
So before we jump into the topic at hand, I'd like to just kind of get a little bit of a background on you and, what brought you to where you are today running InnovaBiz. And also, where in the world are you? Because we can hear that accent. So
okay, yeah.
Global show.
So yeah,
where I'm from.
Yeah, interesting background. So I'm actually German by birth, which explains my name, but I've lived in Australia for most of my life, so that's where the accent comes from. So I'm based in a little country town just outside of Geelong, which is near Melbourne. So it's on the way down to the Great Ocean Road, one of the most spectacular coastal stretches in the world, and so nice place in the world. I guess my background, I was actually trained as a chemist, an industrial chemist, research chemist. I started off in the photographic industry, then moved into specialty chemicals area, particularly chemicals that went into the paint industry. And I was always into computers from the very early days when, PCs became available, and was using computers in that industry for a lot of things. I developed my first website with a small team back in 1997. It was an authority site called the Paint Quality Institute that was only shut down recently because the company that acquired the company I was working for decided it was no longer of value, which is, in my opinion, a massive mistake. But anyway, that's a different story.
That's another story.
So from being a chemist, obviously, I got involved in a whole range of things over a 27-year corporate career. I was managing teams right around the world, global teams, when, before we had things like Zoom, which would have been really useful, but we were doing fax, telex machines in the early days, then fax, then, teleconferences, a lot of those, and a lot of travel, obviously. Went through business management roles, marketing roles, a little bit of internet stuff. And after 27 years, I started to get a bit frustrated with the changing direction, because one of my core values is service to my customers. And I felt that a lot of the changes that were happening were driven by the new wave of MBAs that were looking at figures and numbers and accounting and not really concerned about customers anymore. So after about 2 years of frustration, I decided to take the hint and head out on my own. And so I thought, business systems and marketing for small business is an area that has huge opportunity. Small business really is driving the modern economy, and yet they do struggle a lot with marketing and business systems. And in the early days when I started, so I've been running InnovaBiz for 11 years now. In the early days, many small businesses didn't have a website, and that kind of became my gateway to get in. So I started actually building websites myself, and then building websites that were actually marketing tools as opposed to the online brochure. That was the common thing for the website in those days.
Right. So you were kind of on the cutting edge of using a website as a marketing tool to get business and generate leads and revenue and stuff. And that it takes businesses sometimes a while to realize, or sometimes they never realize that that's really what the website should be for, right? It's not.
That's right. Yeah.
Project. It's
yeah.
It's
and the website. Yeah. And one of the key messages for me is the website's not for you, the business owner. The website's for your customers, your potential customers, which, explains why it's so important to know who they are.
Right. So, hey, perfect transition to to the ideal client. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important to know who your ideal client is. Why can't I just say what services I'm offering? Hey, this is what I do. I'm super good at it. And then whoever comes. Why should I go through the process of figuring out who my ideal client is?
Yeah, great question. And the reasons, there's a whole range of reasons, but basically when you get really clear about your ideal client and how you communicate with them and what it is you can do with them, what their problems and needs are, it just changes everything, transforms your business. It makes it so much easier to market. So, for example, if let's say you're a computer shop supporting Apple computers, and you're a licensed Apple dealer. Well, if you're marketing to anybody that has a computer, you've got people that have PC machines. Obviously, they're not going to come to you because you're not the specialist in that area. Maybe you can't even help them because your business is focused on Apple. So, but if you get really clear about who your ideal audience is and you focus your entire marketing on them and you talk about Apple computers and you establish yourself as the expert on Apple computers, then that audience is going to be attracted to you. And it saves you a lot of time and money in your marketing. Right.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. It's something that I've been doing. I have an ideal client for me it's a computer business owner, and I've got the list of attributes. So when we're talking about identifying our ideal client, how far do we go with that? So I could say, like, if I'm a computer business owner, I can say my ideal client is a doctor. Is that enough? How specific do we need to get?
Yeah, I like to get really specific, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. So my ideal client, for example, you mentioned the business coaches. So I have a name and an image to go with that. So Coach Sam is my ideal client, Sam for Samantha, and there's an image, a picture of a lady there that I've chosen. And when I can see that image in front of me now, and I can immediately trigger a whole lot of attributes that I've given that ideal client avatar. So the reasons, first of all, I dig into what are their psychographics, so age and gender and those sort of things. What sort of car do they drive? What's their family status, and so on. And a lot of that is around establishing kind of a bit of a personal touch. So when you talk to them, you can relate the problems they're having to the bigger environment of their life, what's going on in their life around that, what might be going on. So if you talk about do you need to get your teenage kids to help you with your computer, for example, and that is your avatar, then people immediately relate to that. They say, yep, you understand me, you understand my problems. Then I like to go to the next level of understanding their needs and their frustrations, and even going, I know one of your guests talked about the 5 whys on one of the podcasts, and we like to do that exercise in terms of what are their needs, but then, what's behind those needs. So their needs might be, they've got a computer that's running too slow, but why is that the case? Why are they frustrated about that? And so there might be a whole range of different reasons why they're frustrated with those sort of things that gets you to a level of, talking about frustration. So let's say somebody wants to buy a computer. The end decision is going to be emotional. So whilst they might list all the attributes they want, processor speed, hard disk size, screen size, can it run games, can it do this, can it do that? But at the end of the day, there's some emotional level there. So, you get people that are attached to Apple, you get people that are more attached to the Windows PC environment, and there's no real logic to that. It's an emotional attachment. And if you can get down to that level and understand, who are the fans of Apple, who are the fans of PC because of the emotions that are driving that, then that gives you a lot more empathy for that audience, so that when you're writing those blog posts, when you're doing advertising, when you're doing your marketing, you can bring that empathy to bear, and you can immediately kind of hook people in because they think, hey, this person understands me. And then we even drill down to the level, okay, what kind of communication styles do they prefer? So are they a more visual person, so that you have to get on video to talk to them, you have to have a lot of photographs or infographics or diagrams to explain things to them? Or are they somebody that is more auditory in terms of listening? So they like to listen to things, which means, you might want to do more podcasting things, or you might want to record audio lessons for them. Or are they somebody that is analytical? So they want to see tables of comparisons, tables of features and benefits and so on. So we really drill down to that entire level, and we even go to the level of saying, well, what do those people believe and what are their values? And compare that to, well, where's the alignment with our own values, and where's the alignment with our own beliefs, and what do they believe that we don't believe? That's the really tough one, because sometimes, and in a computer environment, it might be somebody that runs a computer shop might think that it's really easy to format a hard disk, or it's really easy to compact a hard disk, or things like that, whereas the normal user might find that totally intimidating and considers that something they wouldn't dare try themselves. So if you can understand, that here's some things that person believes that I don't believe, and how can I deal with that? How can I communicate at that level?
That's super interesting. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So so you're saying you get very super specific, and you talk about their physical traits, their some of their emotional traits, some of their habits, and that sort of thing. Now, where are we coming up with this stuff when we're putting together this avatar? Are we just making this stuff up? Is this someone we wish existed but maybe could never exist, that we're shooting for? Or are we using an existing client as a model? How do we kind of come up with all of this information?
That's a great question. And you mentioned early on that it's a fun exercise. So there's a bit of fantasy around this, but the easiest way to do this is to use existing clients as a model. So how I recommend that people start with it, and how I start with it, is who are my best clients? Who are the ones I really enjoy working with? And I've kind of got 5 or 6 criteria for my clients that are around. They've got to be action takers. I don't like working with people that procrastinate, because that frustrates me. I like to work with people that want to have a big impact on the world, that have big goals. Work with people that are aligned in values with me, and also people that pay on time. Of course, they're fun to work with. I like to have fun. So if they have fun and it's fun to work with them, then that's important to me. And also people that respect my advice. So if I tell them something, they don't try to micromanage me or challenge me, but at the same time they hold me accountable, and also bring suggestions to the table, even though my expertise might be what's driving this. So they're kind of my criteria. And I look at some of my clients and I say, well, who really fits that well? Who do I love working with? And what attributes do they have? And that's kind of the start point. And there might be 3 or 4 of those that I'll then combine together and bring together this fictional person that is kind of my ideal client.
Right. And so talk about the values piece a little bit, because that's one that I don't hear too often, that you have, certain values that you want your clients to have. And why is that important? Why does it matter? As long as they're willing to pay you and they have an interesting project, where do values come in?
Yeah, well, the values come in the sense, and I don't mean values as to their personal values necessarily, although obviously things like I've been approached by an escort agency to do a website, and I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. So there's values at that level where you say, well, no, for a clash of personal values, I don't want to deal with that client. But then there's values around what do people think about marketing? What do people think about getting out in the public domain and writing blog posts? What do people think about taking an approach of asking for a sale, or when they're promoting their businesses? So some business coaches, for example, they want to contribute, they want to change the world. Most of them have a big servant's heart, but a lot of them are, they don't like asking for money. They don't like asking for sale. They'll kind of almost do stuff for free. And that's a values thing around how they value their time and how they value their money. And for me, that becomes an issue, because, if they don't value their time and value, their services and put value on that and charge their clients for their services, then, they're going to impose those values on me when they work with me. So that's where the values bit comes in.
Yeah, and then you end up, having that tension or that constant conflict with them, or you're trying to get them to see the world one way and they just don't see it that way. And
that's right.
I think we've all had experience with those clients before where, hey, you're trying to tell them, what's best for them, but they just won't listen. And it's a constant struggle. And so, I think, if you can avoid those types of clients, that's great. And so, that makes sense. And even the personal values, I can see that, because when I used to do computer repair, there was a client who was the polar opposite of political spectrum that I'm on. And when I would go to his house, he would constantly try to engage me in conversation, political conversation, and see how I felt about things. And I think he was looking for me to like agree with him and say, yeah, I'm with you. But I was not with him. I was the total opposite of with him. And so I tried to just be, polite and say, I'm not sure. I don't really think about that stuff. And it was always very uncomfortable for me. And I think if I had a good client avatar, one that was, had certain values that weren't that, I could have probably avoided that situation entirely. Because it was hard to do good work for that person when they're constantly trying to, put their political beliefs on you.
Yeah. Any time you're in that situation where it's uncomfortable for whatever reason, it generally comes back to some clash of values. That's where what I've found. And so if you really understand that up front, it makes it a lot easier.
So, and we're going as far as, determining the gender of the ideal client. Is that necessary? And the image also, is that necessary? What does that part of it do as far as putting together the profile?
The gender is something that, a lot of times the ideal client can be either gender. And in fact, I usually, so I've selected Coach Sam. So a lot of my ideal clients have names that could be either gender. And so I do that on purpose, because the gender is not necessarily important. And some of the psychographics are not necessarily important, although if you're dealing directly, say through a computer shop directly with the client, it may be more important, because when people come into the store, often you'll say, well, how's the family? What's that new car of yours doing? So, all of that is part of building that relationship and delighting the client, because they'd like to come in. They like to come into your store because you care about them, right?
Yeah, and you might be able to relate to a certain gender better, or a certain type of person better.
Yeah, that may be the case. Yeah. The image is really important because it's a visual hook. So for me, I can see the image of Coach Sam in front of me, and that brings up a whole raft of things. So I've got 3 pages of handwritten notes. So we have a questionnaire that, and we can share the link to that for the audience. We have a questionnaire that we actually work through to really dig deep on all these things that I've talked about on your ideal client, and work those out. And and I condense that into 3 pages of, a whole lot of bullet points in the various areas. And the image for me will trigger, a lot of those bullet points. So for example, if I'm writing a blog post for the coaching market, I'll have that image in my mind, and it'll be as if I'm having a conversation with Coach Sam. So I'm talking to Coach Sam, and I'm explaining to her about what this topic is.
And that way you don't have to have like a bullet list of all the traits and stuff of this ideal client.
That's right. Yeah. Right. I have a look at those sheets from time to time, but it's kind of, a lot of that is unconscious now, and it's triggered through that image. Some people even go to the extent of, having a lot more fun with this. I know of one business, it's actually a coaching training business that has a cutout figure, full, person height cutout figure in the foyer of their office, and it's Carol, and they dress her up. So they dress her up in themes. So every other day she's dressed up, and that's the ideal client. And it's in the foyer because that's where the people who answer the phones, the first point of contact is. Okay. And so anybody that calls the phone, they're looking at Carol, and they're basically talking to Carol.
Okay, now I'm wondering where it crosses the line to creepy, if you have a cutout of or a mannequin of the ideal client or something. But that's cool. My ideal client is actually a real person. It's a real client of mine, and he's a delight to work with, and buys all of my stuff. And so that's the person, and it really helps if it's a real person, because then you don't have to make up a profile.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the person I always have in mind when I write blog posts and when I create new services. And I usually actually ping him and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" He'll let me know. And that's a great. It's really worth it, and it's really helpful. So when we have this profile, what do we do with it? So you talked about, when you write a blog post, you can have the image of the person in your mind. Is this also something we can use to filter or qualify customers?
So I do use it to filter and qualify customers. The one of the things people kind of hold against this idea of defining an ideal client to this level is and niching down. So this is also niching down and getting very specific. So the narrower you get. And Seth Godin says something like, find the smallest audience you can live with and absolutely obsess over them and delight them, and that's going to make all the difference. And that really is so true. Now, a lot of people say, but I'm going to miss out on this stuff that's over here or over here. That's not the case, because if somebody from over there or over there contacts you and says, can you help me, it's entirely up to you. It's your choice. Just because they're not a match for that ideal client avatar, there's no rule that says you can't work with them. So it's basically it's your choice at that point. But you can use it to filter. So sometimes there'll be things like, I have this checklist that I mentioned earlier, which is just 6 or so points. And if one of those is, I can't say hell yeah to one of those, and I'm undecided, that's already a red flag, and occasionally I've ignored that and gone ahead and worked with a person, and nearly always it's come back to bite me.
And sometimes you have, like, you're in a position, it's a good position to be in, and it happens to me sometimes, I wish it would happen more, where you have an option of a few different projects and you can only work on 1 or 2. You don't have the bandwidth to work on all of them. So you have to actually turn away somebody. how do you choose who to turn away? And you whip out that client profile.
That's right. Yeah.
Put it against those guys, and then figure out, the best match for you. And sometimes it's not obvious on the surface. Sometimes you have to really kind of dig into it a little bit.
But in terms of how you use it, so we've got a 12-step program that we work total marketing system through. And the first 4 steps, so it's 3 stages. The before stage, so when people don't know about you yet, they're prospects, they're out in the world somewhere, and they're a match for your ideal client avatar, they're a match for your products or services, but they don't know about you. The second phase, the steps 5 to 8, are the lead generation stage, lead generation and lead conversion. So that's where, they found you, they know about you, they're kind of getting to know you, but they haven't made the purchase decision yet. And then the final stage, we actually close the loop and we say, once you make the sale, so the sale happens at the end of the lead generation stage, but once you make the sale, there's actually a whole lot more that happens, which really should be part of your marketing. So there's definitely delivering your service and or products, and around that, we don't advise people on that because they know how to do that, but what we do advise people on, there's a whole lot of peripheral activities around that can leverage your marketing, such as having a really good onboarding process, having a really good communication process. And then the steps we do after that is bringing people on board so that their referral, there's a referral system in place. There's you actually convert them into fans so that they're doing the marketing for you essentially because they love what they've experienced. And then kind of we close the loop and how do we systemize the whole thing and elevate it some more. So all of that is based on step 1 being, knowing who the ideal client is. And then step 2 is really digging deep on their needs and matching what you have to offer to their needs. So, some of the things that come out of that then is, you talked about a new product that you've developed or a new service. So you see opportunities with the ideal client of needs that they have that you can fill, but you don't necessarily have a product or service right there for that, but you have the skills and you have the know-how to do that. So there's an opportunity.
That's a great point. If you are thinking about releasing a new service, before you do that, think, is my ideal client going to be thrilled with this service? If so, great. If not, maybe try to think of what they would be thrilled with. And then deliver that. Because if you have a service that's geared at another type of client, then again, you're going to have that conflict where there's one type of client over here, but you have other parts of your business that are targeted at another type of client, and there you have to keep all that straight, and it can get very confusing. It's nice to have the clarity of a product, a niche, an industry niche, and an ideal client, and that makes everything so much easier. You talked about having them be delighted and then refer other people to you. And if you have an ideal client in your pipeline and you deliver the service to them and it's for them, they're going to be delighted, and then they're going to refer more people like
that's right. Yeah, that's right. It attracts the same. Yeah.
So it's kind of a self-fulfilling snowball that keeps going once you get the few of those ideal clients and you target your business to them. That's what I've been doing with all the stuff that I do, and it's great because there's a lot of cynicism in the computer repair business and IT industry, and I'm not a cynic. I'm kind of a positive, look on the bright side type of thinker, and so I like to attract those type of people to my business. So that's the persona I put out there. That's the type of person I'm trying to attract through my marketing, and slowly but surely I'm able to weed out those naysayers and the people I don't work with well, and I have a good group of customers, great group of listeners to the podcast, and it definitely I'm living proof that this stuff works.
Yeah. And it makes it so much easier also, we're talking about delighting the customer and how that then generates momentum, it makes it so much easier to delight the customer when they're a delight to work with, right? And when you're a really good match. Whereas if it's a struggle and that, you have to work really hard to delight them, and even despite your best efforts, you might still fall short.
Yep, that's so true. I think, and we've all been there, I think, for sure. So you've got some cool tools to help with kind of going through the process of putting together a client profile. My favorite is the client profile form, where it's kind of a step-by-step form that you go through and you fill out. And it's super slick, and it asks you a bunch of questions and you just fill them out. It starts with, why you want to get to know your ideal client. And then you go through, what's their gender, how many kids, do they have kids? Do they have pets? Do they rent or own a home? I like how this it gets super specific.
Yeah.
Behaviors, like where do they like to hang out? What do they love to do? What do they eat and drink? Because, hey, you might go to networking events. What networking event should you go to find your ideal client? If you hold a networking event, what kind of restaurant should you hold it at? You go back to your client profile and see, where do they like to eat? Where do they frequent? Let's see some of the other questions. What do they value? What are their aspirations? So where are they trying to be? And maybe, say, hey, I can help you get to where you're trying to be.
Yeah.
What is the attitude or attitudes? What do they believe that you don't believe? What's the thinking behind that question?
Well, that's really the empathy one, because we kind of assume that everybody else has a similar opinion to what I have,
right.
And of course that's not right. So if I understand where there's differences in beliefs, now that could be political belief, it could be religious belief, it could be something less fundamental than that. It could be what I said earlier. Some people believe that it's really hard to compact and reorganize your hard drive. It's really hard to remember passwords and so on. And yet people in the IT industry would say, hey, that's trivial. So that's a different belief as well. And if you understand that, and you understand, hey, I can't make that assumption about somebody else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. And then here's another one I saw. This is great. Who is your client's ideal client?
Yeah.
This is like Inception stuff going on here.
Yeah. So you could actually repeat the exercise for their ideal client, but then you're doing their job for them. But it's good to have an idea, particularly in the B2B area, because often, we do digital marketing for business coaches, so we help them put together their marketing program. So obviously we take them through that 12-step process, and the first step of that process is who is their ideal client. So it certainly, even if you're not doing marketing, if you're just working with somebody providing services to other businesses or other clients, it helps if you know who their ideal client is, because that gives you some more insight into what are the issues they're dealing with.
That's something that I don't do often enough, and I think that's something that everybody doesn't do often enough. Is if you're working with other businesses, really understand who their client is, and then when you're speaking to them, because your client, they care about delighting their client. So if you can help your client delight their client, then they're going to respond to that, and that's right. That's great. That's really cool. I like that.
So one of my best clients is a business coach, and her ideal client is in the allied health industry, and they're typically people that are either growing a practice. So they're not on their own, they're growing a practice and they're managing a business as well as providing the allied health services, or they're working in a practice and looking to move out of there and start up their own. So, that's quite specific as well. And if I understand that, then I know, how to direct her marketing campaigns in terms of where they've got to be positioned and who they should be talking to.
Yeah, for sure. And even in the IT space, you want to know, what are the key pieces of technology that, you know, can't go down. They have to be redundant. It could be, you know, there's a POS system because it's, you know, they're doing transaction.
Right, yeah.
You know, all of that stuff will help you determine what technology is important and how to streamline that and everything. So super important. I think that's a great insight. Some other stuff you have on the form here, you know, what's their preferred communication style? So phone, email, social media, face-to-face. I know you know, I'm not a phone person. I like to communicate via email. And so that's what my ideal client is like. And so I do all of my communication via email. I don't even publish my phone number, and that helps to kind of filter out that type of client. And then how do they learn, you know, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and that can kind of help you maybe put together some different types of marketing. How do they like to receive their goodies? And how do they network? Yeah, in meetups or coffee chats. Yeah, this is great. This makes you think about, you know, things that you don't normally think about where to meet your clients and how to communicate with them. Cool. So I'm going to put a link to this I already put it in Facebook. I'll put it in the show notes. You also have a template that people can take a look at and fill out, where you have like the picture of your ideal client, and you can fill out the profile around the picture for that person.
Yeah.
And then,
so the last step of that questionnaire essentially is to take all that information and put it into this template. And I think in the template I've actually got Coach Sam there as an example.
Yep, there she is. Cool. Great. So is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to touch on about your ideal client avatar?
No, I think we've probably covered all the important bits. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's kind of if you guys have, you know, if you guys have the time, and I think you should find the time, go through this worksheet and fill it out, and just have that there. It's something takes you 5 minutes to do. Once you do it, you have it for the rest of your business career, basically. Of course, you can update it and change it over time, but it's a great thing to have ready to go when you're writing emails, when you're putting together a social media post, when you're putting together an advertising campaign, or a flyer or whatever. Even your website and the forms you build on your website, if you want to insert some humor or whatever, all of that stuff should be focusing on your ideal client, and it just it all kind of writes itself, really, when you do that. So
yeah, I've been reading a lot of books recently on storytelling and messaging, and I don't know, because maybe it's because I'm focused on it, but it's the red car syndrome. But I'm seeing this ideal client as the first stage of all of that. So I'm reading the Story Brand, I think it is, by Donald Miller, which is a great book, and he talks about using stories in your marketing, telling stories, and that it's not your story. The hero of your story is the client, and you're just the guide. So, you're the guide, which is actually the most important role. But most people want to be the hero, and so he says, you're the guide. So the hero is your ideal client. So and a lot of what he talks about comes back to understanding how you position that person as the hero, which to me is, if you really know the ideal client. The other thing that might be worth talking about, this exercise you can use, if you're doing presentations or you're doing webinars, writing blog posts, so you've got an audience. Doing a presentation, you have an audience. Doing a webinar, you have an audience. So sometimes it's really good to actually do an ideal audience profile. So, don't call it a client, call it an audience, and get, a deeper level of understanding of that, and then use that to put together the presentation material. So that works really well. And I've even turned it around the other way, and I've done one on myself. So I've done this exercise using myself, which is a great way to practice it, because you know the answers, or you should know the answers. And then give that to somebody else who's, one of your best suppliers, and say, have a look at this. This is me. If you see this, you'll understand me. And now I expect your service levels to improve. And I've also done it with companies that are looking to hire, and say, well, who's your ideal team member profile? And balance on that. And that gives them a great starting point for putting together a job specification and doing the hiring process.
Man, this could work in all forms of life. Ideal best friend.
Oh, yeah. I haven't gone into the ideal partner bit yet, but...
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, cool. I mean, it is kind of like dating, where you're trying to find the ideal person for your business. And this is... And
I think we say meet your new best friend on the form somewhere near the start.
Yep, that's right. Awesome. Well, I think that's great. I think there's a lot of great insights. I got some golden nuggets from this for sure. I'm going to go ahead and link to all of the resources you have in the show notes. And if someone just wanted to reach out to you to say hi or to thank you for being on the show, what's the best place to find you?
Well, they can reach me at Jurgen@innovabiz. That's JURGEN at innovabiz.com.au, or my Twitter handle is @innovabiz. So they're the best places.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being a guest on the podcast. I'll see you around the groups and the communities that we're a member of. But appreciate you coming out as always. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this episode. Before we end, just wanted to mention our second sponsor really quick. That's TechSite Builder. So if you want a website for your computer business and the one you have is outdated, or it's not working as well, it's not converting clients, it's a lot to maintain, or you're just frustrated with it, then check out TechSite Builder. It's a platform that you can sign up for, and we basically give you a website builder that you can use to build out your computer business website with only the tools that you would need as a computer business owner. So we give you, intake forms. We give you the photos of different IT type things that you would want for your website. We give you kind of filler content that you can get started with to see what type of content would work best on your website. Then, of course, we have a blog. We have a place where you can list your services. We have a place where you can list testimonials. And then the most important thing is to contact you. So we make it very easy to put your contact information at the top of the site, at the bottom of the site. You can have like a Google map that shows where your business is. And you don't need to code. You don't need to know any technical stuff. You just jump on, fill out the information, follow the tutorial videos, and in about an hour, you can have a brand new, fully functioning website that looks like it was built by a pro, but the secret is, don't tell anyone, it was built by you in about an hour with the help of TechSite Builder, of course. Plus, if you don't even have time to do that, we could take care of all of that for you. So we have some options called concierge services, where we will help build out the website for you. We'll write the content. We'll do the blog posts. We'll tweak the SEO and make sure that your website gets found in search engines, do the keyword research and all that stuff for you. So if you don't have time or you don't want to take care of it, we'll take care of it for you. All that is available for you at a low monthly price. So check that out at techsitebuilder.com. That's going to do it for this episode of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Don't forget to join us in the Facebook group. It's the Computer Business Marketing Group. You can find that at techsitebuilder.com/group. That'll forward you to the Facebook group. It's a great, curated group, so you have to answer a couple questions to get into it. Let me know that you have a business, a computer business. It's a great place to just ask questions about, marketing. There's new services popping up all the time to help you market your computer business, what works, what doesn't. You could talk about that. Maybe you have some ideas for blog posts you want to run by the group first. It's a great community, very helpful. And you can check that out at the Computer Business Marketing group in Facebook. Also, just a reminder, if you listen to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, be sure to give us a shout out and leave a review. We love to hear your feedback, and every comment you leave helps us get found in those platforms, and we like the love. We love to share the love around here. Finally, don't forget to check out our sponsors, TechBlog Builder at techblogbuilder.com and TechSite Builder at techsitebuilder.com. We see a theme going here now. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for checking out the Computer Business Marketing Show. My name is Matthew Rodella, saying here's to your success.